Hello. Have you seen me start a video with the makeup already on in like 45 years? No, you haven't. Uh, Basically, I'm going to be recreating this incredible makeup on Emma Stone by Nina Park. Instantly, as soon as I saw it, I was like, I know who did this. Like, I know it. Let's just like have a moment for the incredible pairing of Emma Stone and Nina Park. Like it's a revelation. I've been obsessed with all of her makeup looks on everyone, but in particular Emma, and maybe it's because I recently became a redhead and Emma is really acting as my like inspo for how to grow out a pixie. I love this makeup. It's so beautiful. It's incredibly natural. It focuses more so on enhancing someone's natural features. So it's gonna look a little bit different on me than it does on her. But anyone can wear it, which is why it's so, what makes it so approachable and elegant, and I think impactful. So if you want to see how I created this, keep watching. It is going to be a voiceover, the tutorial part, because I am getting over being sick and I need to just give my voice a rest. So bear with me. But yeah, this is it and we're gonna do it. Okay, please excuse my current state. You guys know how it is being sick. So in terms of skin prep, especially because my skin has been relatively dry and it unfortunately remained dry, so you will see that, especially around my eyes. I did prime my skincare was the Anua 70 Rice Toner and then the Anua 70 Milky, whatever that is. I can't read it from here. It'll be linked down below. And I made sure to really focus this around my nose. I didn't focus enough around my eyes. In terms of my foundation, I have been loving the Haus Labs foundation. This is the Triclone in the shade, I can't remember. I think it's like 030 something. It'll be linked down below, obviously. On days like this, to be honest with you, when my skin is a little bit more dry, I tend to prefer using the moisture of a damp sponge. I've been trying to use brushes more, which is why I'm using a brush right now. But that's just a little tip. If your skin has been dry, if you've been sick, a little extra moisture isn't gonna hurt. So I'm building up like a relatively lightweight amount of this foundation, it's medium buildable, which is really nice. But it is water-based, so it is a little bit more lightweight. It feels a lot more like lightweight on the skin, which is great. It wears really beautifully. So I'm focusing obviously a little bit more coverage in areas around my temples, in areas where I have a little bit of breakouts, where you can see I'm using a little bit more of a patting motion to maintain the coverage there. But I'm doing like a relatively light application of this product. You want this to look like skin. This is really, really important that you're not covering up your face. I don't care if you have a bunch of stuff that you feel like you need to cover, whether it's acne or dark spots, do a lightweight amount of your foundation. I'm gonna be using my Merit bronzer. This is in the shade Quince. And what I'm doing, like you can see, I'm picking up on my 38 brush and really like working that into the skin on the back of my hand. So I'm making sure that I'm really not applying too much product. This is a really great trick if you're someone who tends to be a little bit heavy-handed. Pick it up on the brush. Don't draw on your face, especially if you are trying to recreate something from Nina Park. She does this really beautiful, like light shaping and warming of the face, using especially bronzers. She's, as far as I know from everything that I have watched and heard her say, she's not the biggest fan of contouring, but she likes to enhance the shape of the face using bronzer. So if you're really trying to stick to Nina, then you definitely want to focus more so on that, creating like a nice natural dimension to the face. Think more so dimension and not so much like trying to change the face. However, I am not one of these teeny tiny little celebrities with these like perfect bone structures. So I am doing the teeniest bit of contouring. So you can just cut this out. Like, don't follow this part if you want to be like so true to Nina, but I am just doing a little bit underneath my jawline and a teeny little bit in my cheekbones. The jawline contour for me is a non-negotiable. And this is my favorite contour shade in the entire world. This CoverGirl contour in Defined, I think it is. It's like the CoverGirl Contour Balm. It'll be linked down below. Duh, everything is. But I just love this to really just kind of like sharpen up my lower jawline. This is the only area where I really feel like I need that contour. I'm mixing the two together, so I'm mixing my contour and my bronzer together to create a little bit of a nose contour. Now that my hair is a little bit more warm toned, I can get away a little bit more with like warmer tones in certain areas. So I'm kind of customizing this color to do like a very light nose contour. This is something that Nina does absolutely do on her, like especially red carpet clients. She does do like a glam makeup look on people, but she has this like magical way of making it look so natural and like skin. So for my next step, I'm going to be placing all of my concealers on the back of my hand. So NARS for my color corrector, Kosas, and my Haus Labs concealer. Again, all of the shades will be linked down below, and I will kind of go back and forth between these shades. I'm obviously using NARS to do some color correcting around my eyes, which are so dark because I've been sick. So dark. That is one downside, man, of having hereditary dark circles. They get so much worse when you've been sick. So I'm really working this into the skin. If I was wearing sunscreen, I wouldn't be swiping as much. I would be patting. So just keep that in mind if you are wearing sunscreen. Now I'm going in and I'm mixing a little bit. I like to just kind of go between all of these depending on like the area of my face. So around my nose, I like a little extra coverage and some highlighting. We tend to be a little bit more red around our nose. I get darkness around my lips. So use Nina's work as like a basis, but make sure that you are tailoring it to you if there are certain areas that you feel like you need to pay more attention to. So that's very much what this makeup look is for me. I'm doing the tiniest bit of highlighting in between my brows and my forehead. So you can see it's not like so highlighted, but it is just like those little amounts are going to add up. And then I am mixing the Haus Labs concealer with my Kosas to layer on top of that color corrector for underneath my eyes. So I'm making sure to brighten. Now, the photo of Emma has been taken with flash. So the center of her face is very lit up. So if you like love the way that looks and you really want to like emulate that, then you can do like a little bit more highlighting if you want. Personally, I think that this is like pretty much in the vein. I just didn't want to go like way too much because I feel like that's very much what Nina does. She doesn't go too much. So now I'm just going in and blending. You saw my foundation brush. Now I'm using this larger brush underneath my eyes just to make sure things are nice and blended, including the nose. Okay, now I am doing a little bit of spot concealing. I am going to go through this pretty quickly because I have an in-depth spot concealing video, which I will link above on the right-hand corner of the video if you want to check that out. I go very much in depth as to my process and like how I go about doing this. So I'm going to go in and fill my brows. What I love about this look on Emma is that her brows are really gently filled, like really, really gently filled. So I'm going in with this blonde brow pencil from NYX, which is very warm. So if you're blonde, you probably don't want to use it. But if you're like a strawberry blonde or you have red hair, it's great for like a light fill. And I'm just kind of like going in and sort of sketching them out. I'm sort of following Emma's shape, going in and brushing them out. I just want to make sure that I have like a nice basis of warmth. Then I'm going in with this more auburn tone from MAC, which is a little bit darker. It's definitely like, it's pretty pigmented too, but it's also still like on the red side. And I'm going in and I am sketching out more of the shape. So I'm again following Emma's shape because I like to do that when I am recreating someone's makeup look, to try and get as close as possible. So I'm keeping them relatively short and a little bit lifted. I've been extending my tail recently, but I am following hers, so I'm not extending my tail as much, which can lead to a more like lifted and also youthful look. For my blush, I'm using this one from Buxom, one of my favorites. It's so pretty. Once again on my 38 brush, I'm just working this into the back of the hand again so that I'm not going in with way too much because Nina is not like, this isn't Sabrina Carpenter, you know what I mean? Like, we love a blush, okay? We love a flush on the cheeks, but it isn't Sabrina Carpenter. It's not the 80s. So then I'm just dabbing it up high on the cheekbone, you can see. sort of like ever so slightly underneath the eyes, making sure that I'm gently blending into like where that bronzer is so that it's not like all, you know, disconnected. And then going back in with my foundation brush and blending. Teeny bit on the nose, teeny bit on the nose. Can't live without it. It just like, it's so youthful and pretty. Now for the freckles. So I have been loving freckles, obviously. If you didn't see my freckle video, I will link it up in the right-hand corner again. Since I have red hair now, I just can't live without my freckles. And this Tarte product is like a lifesaver when it comes to freckles. So if you want something that's really easy to use and you need a tutorial for it, check out my video. It's very, very helpful. And I am following Emma's placement in terms of freckles, so. Okay, to set my face, I'm going to be using the L'Oreal Infallible Powder. This is in Translucent Light. So I'm just making sure that I'm nice and blended underneath the eyes and then just going in and placing this underneath the eyes, making sure to set everything. This is where I realized my eyes have been very, very dry. So you definitely want to make sure that you are hydrating before doing this, especially if you're sick. And then going around mostly the center of my face, my T-zone is where I tend to get a little bit more oily. And then just like, you know, blending it out. I get breakouts around my temples, so I like to make sure that those are ever so slightly mattified, maybe a little bit more satin looking so that they don't stand out. And you want to keep things in place, but I don't set my entire face and I don't use a ton of powder. Now I'm going in with a little bit of my NARS eye primer on my eyes. I did take a teeny bit of foundation onto my eyelids, so there was like already a little bit of color there, and now I'm just applying this to be a really beautiful like velvety base for my eyeshadow. And then making sure to pat it out and then setting a little bit with some powder. Just a teeny bit of powder. I tend to get a little bit of creasing sometimes. I'm gonna go in with the Rephr Brow Setter, I think is what it's called, and set my brows. I'm not using soap because I want these to be very, very gentle. You'll notice that Nina does not do these like super sculpted, like, what is it called? When it's like flattened to the skin? Why can't I remember what that's called right now? It doesn't matter. She doesn't do that, okay? Brows look very, very natural. They almost look like they could be filled with powder in some cases. Now I'm going into this palette from Dior, which is this and picking up this really beautiful kind of like peachy color. You want to keep it in the family of all the other colors that you've been using on your face. So you could use, if you don't want to use something a little bit more like peachy, you could use your bronzer, you could use your blush if you use a powder blush. I'm just using this like pretty peach color, building it up a little bit on the outer part of the lid, and then sort of building up the V shape on the outer part of the eye. Just to give like a little bit of a wash. It was kind of hard to tell how much Emma had on her eyes, but at the very least, I think she had like a nice sort of like watercolor wash of color on her lids. Going back in with that MAC pencil and filling in any extra areas that may have shown when I set my brows. I'm leaning against my table. It's making crazy noises, so sorry if you can hear that. Just doing a little bit of cleanup. I got a little thick. Get a little thick sometimes when you're trying to like get the right shape, you know? I usually use like a teeny bit of concealer or foundation just to like erase any like outside the lines. Now I'm picking up this gel liner. This is from Melt Cosmetics, and I'm picking this up on my whatever brush it is from Sigma, and I'm really working this into the lash line. Okay, so I started off in my like tight line basically, and now I'm going very, very thin, which is why a tiny little brush like this is so useful. This was in my brush set with Sigma. I think there's like one left, maybe. I'll link it if the brush set is still available. Yeah, so I'm going back into my tight line. This really makes everything look super seamless, and it can be a lot easier with a gel liner because the gel liner will set. So obviously you don't want to get it like all up in your eye, so be careful, like keep it closer to the lashes. But it's really, really great. Now I'm going in and I'm creating a little bit of a wing to clean up that little like mistake that I made with that Half Magic flick eraser. It's so good if you are like, if you're not great at wings. And it actually helps to create like a really, really fine wing. It's a micellar water. It's not oily, so it's not going to like get product all over the place. It's really, really great for cleanup. So I'm just creating the tiniest little wing. and then picking up that same peach color and dragging that on my lower lash line, focusing it like slightly more so on the outer corner, but I wanted something that would tie everything together. Now you don't need to use as many brow products as I am using, but I wanted to go in with my Melt Cosmetics brow pen just to fill in a couple little hairs on the outer part of my brows. I gotta say, brows are one of those things. I use like 12 different products. Like I have to. Curling my lashes with my Rephr lash curler, and then I'm applying a very light coat of my Clio Kill Lash. This is the super proof long curling mascara. Now, based on the photo, instantly I realized I don't need a waterproof mascara for this because Emma's, I almost said lips, her lashes were not so like up. So in retrospect, I kind of wish I'd used the Half Magic mascara. I think it would have been perfect for this look in particular. I just want to make sure that my lips are nice and clean, and then I'm going in with this lip liner from Hung Van Gogh. I will link the shades down below. This one was a little bit darker. It's a little bit more cool toned than the one that I've been using, which I'm going to go in with in a second. And to be honest, I kind of wish I'd used one that was ever so slightly more on the brown, like warmer side, because this was relatively cool toned. I think we got there in the end, but basically I'm just using this to create my lip shape. I just think that this color that I chose was ever so slightly like too purpley, but it's still a beautiful lip liner, and I love this lip liner formula. It's been my absolute favorite. So I'm going in and creating the lip. The lip, if you want a super detailed tutorial, I will link that up above. I've done like a few lip tutorials based on Nina Park's lip look that she creates. Now I'm going in with Follow the Shape from Hung Van Gogh. This is Hung Van Gogh lip liner, and really filling in. And this was a little bit dark, but I wanted to have like a really nice long wear base. And once again, going in and doing a little bit of blurring. That blurring is like such a signature look when it comes to Nina's makeup looks. But you want to make sure that you're doing it gentle. You don't want to go too crazy. Don't do like my red lip tutorial. That was wild. I like blurred it way too much. It was a little concerning. Now I'm picking up a little bit of my blush. This is one of my favorite ways to really tie everything together if you don't have a lip product that like works with everything. I'm taking a little bit of my cream blush and just blending that in the center of the lips. So blending that over the lip liner. So the lip liner will create this nice long wear base, and then it really gives the blush something to adhere to. Just making sure to blot. You want to make sure that like, you're not applying way too much product or it's not building up too much. And then I always go back in with a little lip liner and make sure that I haven't like ruined my edges, or if there's any areas I blurred a little bit too much, you can kind of crisp those up again. Okay, and then I'm just gonna go in with a little bit of my lanolin, what's it called? Lanolips, I think, lip balm, just in the center of the lips. I like to focus it in like the kind of like the inner rim where things can get a little bit dry. But I like to keep the outer part untouched because that's what you typically have to touch up, and the second that it gets like kind of wet or moist, it can like break down. Finally, my Auric Glow Lust. This is in the shade Morganite. I'm going to use this to hit the high points of the face. Nina does this really beautiful thing with, typically I think she uses illuminators. I don't know if she uses powder highlights very often because it looks so part of the skin. So I feel like I would focus on like a liquid or a cream illuminator. So not like so sculpted underneath the brows, but just a little bit to give like a little dew there, a little bit of dew in the bridge of the nose, a teeny bit of dew in like the inner corner. So it doesn't look like the most beaming highlight ever, but it has like a little bit of life. I'm dragging a little bit of that onto the lids to kind of just make sure that it's, cohesive throughout all of the makeup. And of course on the cheekbones. So I am applying this with my brush after having applied my blush. So I like to use my blush brush to apply my highlight. All right, guys, this is the finished look. What do you think? I love it. I tried to like kind of do my hair like her. I don't know. The grow out process. I feel like we got pretty close with the lip. It's not like exact. I did have to mix a blush, but I think I'm pretty happy with it. So here's a close up. All right, guys, this is the finished look. I am obsessed with it. I love it so much. I think it's so beautiful. It's just like Nina has such an incredible way of, like, she has a signature style, right? But she has an incredible way of adapting it for every face. And I think her signature style works for every face. It works for everyone. And she really believes very much in just kind of like enhancing natural features and not trying to fight them, not trying to change them. And that's why I think it resonates so much with people. I've been seeing so many people, like an outpour of just like appreciation for her style in general, and also like a want to be able to recreate it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial, and let me know if there are any other specific looks that you want to see next. And I'll see you in the next one, my dude. I just gotta take a nap.